Welcome into today's broadcast right here at Cog Hill Farm. Now, Peaches wouldn't let Nugget into the house for this episode, so here's Jason, Brooke, and our chicken master, Marycarl.
What is up, everybody? This is another episode of the Cogcast podcast coming at you from the beautiful Cog Hill 40. This is episode number 74 over here at Cog Hill. This is your homestead and family farming podcast talk show across YouTube, Facebook, and all your podcast apps. It is the weather's been crazy.
Has it?
2 days ago, we were freezing. The next 2 days, we needed shorts. And then had a storm come through last night, and now it's cool again this morning.
It is.
And you said it's going to be like 30 this weekend?
The low is supposed to freeze.
Wow.
And this will be our first temperatures on the new farm below freezing.
Wow. I'll have to remind me to put my frost covers on my green stalk planters.
It's too bad we can't do it right now because that's the only way we would remember.
Or maybe set me a reminder or something.
Maybe Marycarl could be your reminder.
Maybe so.
Tell her, not me, because
I will.
Not good. I'm not good help.
I'll try to tell her because I'm going to forget. I definitely am going to forget.
Well, maybe you should set them out on the picnic table because I have some things set out for you to cook.
Good idea.
And when you finish cooking, you could put the covers on.
Speaking of cooking, in the mealtime video that we haven't come up with we've got a bunch of great names from you guys, though. What were some of them?
Cogmas.
Cogmas. I really like that one.
Cog-a-doodle-doo.
Cog-a-doodle-doo. Somebody said that we need to get somebody to make us a snazzy tune of the remake of Blue's Clues. We just got a letter.
I've been trying to come up with somebody that I thought would have the correct voice for that. And, Tammy and Derek over there at the Flying Pete, she's the greatest singer that I can think of. But I don't know how that would sound in a tone that she has.
Yeah, it would, I don't know. If somebody's out there that can do something like that, I don't know. Most of y'all probably know what that is, that jingle. Cause
it doesn't have to be exactly like that.
It's already in my head now, and it will not go away.
We just got a letter. We just got a letter.
But if it was exact, we would get flagged by YouTube.
Oh, yeah.
For
we don't want anything
yeah.
that's exact, or even that tune doesn't even have to.
No. Or either some type of I don't know.
Snazzy jingle.
I don't know. If some of y'all out there that are creative and good with that, and it doesn't take you a whole lot of time. I don't want to, but yeah, send us an email. Let us know. I would be interesting to see.
Marycarl and I were driving down the road the other day, and we were talking about it.
Yeah.
And I actually started singing it, and I got that
jingle in your head.
Well, no, I got that. She told me I was weirdo and all that kind of stuff, and then she came up with her own little jingle. I'm sure she can't recreate it because I can't remember it.
You can't remember it either.
But, she just spit something out, and it was cute. And
kind of like our intro to all our podcasts,
right.
That's a DJ over there in the Birmingham area that did that for us, and we use that every time now. And he just randomly sent that to us out of the blue.
Yeah, if somebody could do that, then we'd be, if it was something that appealed to us, we'd be happy to use it.
So,
Mail time.
Who knows?
Remember what show was it? One of those late night talk shows. It was something I used to watch when I was a teenager.
Was it David Letterman?
Maybe it was, because that's really the only thing I ever watched.
Didn't Pee Wee's Playhouse have something when they got
now? Look, I am talking about adult talk shows, not Pee Wee Herman. I don't know anything about Pee Wee Herman.
For some reason, I thought Pee Wee Herman on his Saturday morning show that he had something that was male related. I can't remember.
I didn't watch.
You didn't watch Pee Wee Herman? You watched Pee Wee's Playhouse?
I did like those movies that he came out with, though.
What was the Pee Wee's Big Adventure? Yeah, where he does the dance on the table to tequila. You look at the sound jump up. You're going to blow everybody's ears out.
I did good, though, didn't I?
Yeah.
My friends used to laugh at me when I did that because I could kind of sound like Pee Wee.
Oh, my gracious. Whew.
That got me off track.
That did get it. That's us. We get off track very easily.
So I was going to update on the water situation while I was thinking about it.
What water?
Our drinking water.
Oh, okay.
Well, you know,
Oh, you're talking about your little pump.
I did a whole spiel about how my pump didn't work.
Right.
I ordered it and plugged it in and did everything what you see?
I just heard the dogs barking. I just looked.
Did everything I was supposed to, I thought.
Yeah.
And it would go and spit out a little water and a little bit more.
And this is your new little pump that you sit on top of a giant
5-gallon bottle of water.
Right.
And first it would run about 5 seconds. And then when I hit it again, it would 1 second, 1 second, 1 second. So I knew it wasn't functioning properly. So I went to the troubleshooting section. I even had somebody, I believe they were from the UK, send me a message and tell me that they knew what my problem was because they did the same thing when they got theirs. And that was, it doesn't come with a charging block on purpose because you're only supposed to plug it into like a charging device like a computer or something that has a USB port for charging.
Right.
So she said, take my advice and go plug it into Jason's computer and let it charge for 3 to 5 hours and see if that doesn't fix it because I bet you it will. I said, okay. So I immediately got Jason plugging into his computer, waited 3 to 5 hours. Same thing. Same thing. Did not work. So I already had a replacement coming at that time because I'd gone through the troubleshooting steps and they said that I needed a replacement.
Right.
When I got the replacement, I didn't plug it into the wall, just like the lady said. I got Jason to plug it into his computer, and lo and behold, it works perfectly.
Does work. But get this. She takes the old one off the bottle, and this thing just sits on the bottle. Takes it off, sets it on the counter, puts the new one. Puts the new one down on the bottle, see that it works, everything's perfect, and then you just, for the heck of it, cut the one that was broken off, cut it on, and it worked perfectly. It
was just humming away. It just pumped and pumped and pumped and pumped.
Had it for nearly
off the bottle.
Had it for nearly over a week.
Yeah, off the bottle it worked properly, but on the bottle it did not work. So, nonetheless, it was faulty on the bottle.
Right.
I got one that works now, so I'm thankful to have drinking water that I enjoy.
That's good.
Yeah,
that's good.
It's good for me because I have to have my water.
You don't like the camper water.
I don't.
Yeah, and there's a lot of people that agreed with you.
Yeah, a lot of people said that our problem was in our freshwater tank. That water that comes out of that freshwater tank is just nasty.
Yeah.
Well, we don't use a freshwater tank.
No, we got it hooked up to the county.
We got it hooked up to the county water. So the problem is definitely with the taste of the county water.
And I have a filter on it too.
Yeah, we have a filter on it, and we followed all of y'all's suggestions and appreciate everything you did suggest. But no way, no how could I make myself like that water. And I'm using these bottles because we already had them. Yes. I had already bought them because I had no other way to get water.
Right.
Except for these bottles. But my Cog Hill, which Marycarl called my baby because I took it everywhere I went.
Your Cog Hill bottle.
My Cog Hill Yeti tumbler.
Right.
I guess that's what you call it.
That's what it was.
Is about to be back in use because the thing will work. And I'm not going to pour it in these bottles anymore. I've got my handy dandy nice bottle that I'll be using.
Carrying it everywhere with you.
My baby. My baby will be back.
That's funny because one of the smaller YouTube channels that went to the meetup, the guy that had all the cameras on him.
Oh, yeah.
I
wish they knew their name.
They called that camera the baby. His baby.
His baby. And he would jump up and down because he had this big harness on.
Yeah.
And the cameras wouldn't move. I mean, he was just had all kind of.
The channel is.
Don't even start because you're going to do it wrong.
It's Crazy Lizzie Goat Farm. I think that's the name of it.
I hope you're right.
I think I am.
I hope you are. But one more thing solved at the Cog Hill.
That's right.
40.
You want to cut that down or you cool?
Well, I'm usually cold.
Okay.
And I brought me a little light jacket, but I didn't feel cold when I got in here, so I'm good.
Okay.
And this is a shirt that came from the
meetup.
The meetup.
Yes.
I don't know if y'all
Gulf
can see
Coast
it or not,
Homesteaders.
I picked it out this morning because I thought it was a pretty color.
And this is a shirt that my main man, Lester, at I'm a Survivor Donkey Sanctuary, sent me.
Mine is being washed.
Yes.
So I can wear it over these cold temperatures that are ahead.
I tell you, it has come in handy, hasn't it?
Man, I'm telling you what. I didn't know when I moved 40 miles up the road how much a hoodie was going to come in handy, because that's something that we didn't have to have.
I never wore mini sweatshirts. I told you I wasn't a big sweatshirt person, really.
now.
But I've been wearing a Stew Out of Leicester sweatshirt.
You moved to the Arctic, and that's what it called for. 40 miles up the road.
40 miles an hour away.
And we're in the Arctic. Yep.
Man. You're talking about the camper and the water and the heater coming on.
Oh, gosh.
There's been several things about camper life that we have learned on the go that you just assume things and think you know things. Number one was the toilet situation. A camper toilet is different than a normal toilet at your house. And I used to go camping with my granddaddy all the time when I was young, but you're talking about maybe when I was 8, 9, or 10 was the last time we went camping, because he kind of quit doing it and just things happen and life happens. And so it's been years since I've been in a camper with a bathroom.
Well, the kind of stuff that went on with the bathroom was probably more so behind the scenes. I mean, he didn't need your help, so he just took care of it, and you didn't have any.
I guess that's true. But we started it had a little bathroom smell to it in the camper. And come to find out, we were doing it wrong. We were leaving it dry, pretty much. We would,
flush it till there was no water.
No water in it. And then I finally read, what caused the smells. And you type that in, you'll get 5 million things. But I finally figured out that was one reason, because that's your seal. Even though the toilet's got a seal on it, that's still your seal to keep any type of odor in, because, your tank's right up under your toilet. So, I mean, you're straight there. So that was problem number one.
I remember when the architect came and he wanted to go over some things with us, and he was about to be there, and somebody had flushed the toilet, and the vapors from the tank filled the camper up. So it smelled like somebody had
and we were trying to get it all out. Yeah.
Just completed an ultimate poop. But that wasn't the case. It was ultimate vapors coming out of our septic tank, because, not our septic tank, but our black water tank.
So we did figure that issue out. That was number one.
That was kind of embarrassing.
That was number one. Then the other thing here recently was the heater. So our thermostat has two heat settings on it, and one was gas heat. And then the thermostat said
meaning propane.
And then it said electric heat. Okay, that was the two settings. Again, I'm just using my common sense. When it says gas heat, then that means it's coming from the tanks outside the camper. Electric heat means it's coming from
the power pole.
Yeah, well, yeah, the power, and it's just your, what am I trying to say? An element, a heat element that gets hot via electricity, and air blows across it, and it heats the camper. That's what I'm assuming, okay? So one of these cool nights, and I've been running the electric heat because I was nervous that the gas heat the vapors would be too strong and, mess our sinuses up, but possibly, could do something with Marycarl's birds. So I was just nervous about running the gas. And I had cut it on, and I smelt gas. But, that's anything. If you're running gas, especially LP, if you cut your grill on, you cut your eye on, you cut your stove on, you're going to smell it.
But it's not like a lingering smell. It's just initially.
Yeah, and I overreacted to that smell. And I was like, oh, no, this ain't going to work. I don't want nobody to get sick. This ain't going to work. So I immediately switched it to electric heat. And that's how we've been going. Electric heat comes on, and the top units come on, and then there was heat coming out of the floor as well. And so we're going with this, and we've been doing this for 3 weeks.
Yeah, because on these cool nights, you need something to take the chill out.
Yes.
And we don't want to be warm when we're sleeping, but you also, we've got birds in the camper. Right. They've got to be kept comfortable. So we just need it to be comfortable warm, not like,
Right. Well, so one day this week, I can't remember what day it was now.
I can't remember either. But
it was a cold night.
It was. It was probably the night that it dropped to the lowest temperature.
So I woke up. And
let me start.
It was
No.
It was pretty cold.
You always wake up before I do.
Yes.
And so.
But it was still cold when I woke up.
So
go ahead.
When Jason gets up, a lot of times he'll come out here to the little canned ham to work on whatever. But he a lot of times he's not in the bed when I wake up. And so that was typical. He wasn't in the bed. So I got up because I was cold. And I went just, went to the thermostat and cut it up. It said 52 on the thermostat.
52 degrees inside the camper.
And so I cut it up and I went back and I'm under the covers and I'm like, gosh, it's cold in here.
It's not getting any warmer.
It wasn't getting any warmer.
Yeah.
And so I got back up and I saw Jason, who was sitting down in shorts, looking on his phone or computer or something, probably conversing back and forth with somebody. And I said, Jason, are you not cold? And he was like, well, and he got up and I went back to the bed because I was freezing. Yeah. And I just got under the covers and I thought he'll take care of it because, I didn't think I was freezing. Yeah. I didn't think anything else about it.
And to clarify things, you're not tech savvy.
No, I'm not.
And so the camper thermostat has really thrown you a curveball a little bit.
Yeah, because you got to go to zone and
you got 2 zones. You got zone 1 and zone 2, and then you got modes, and then you got systems.
All I knew was
it is a little confusing.
All I knew was I needed a temperature up, which is what I did, but it didn't work.
Didn't work.
So
I go to it, and I look, and it's on, and I can hear the top unit running, but there's nothing coming out of the floor vents. And I said, well, that's where the heat's really been coming from the whole time, is out of the floor vents. The top has just been like room temperature-ish, lukewarmish, nothing. And we got one of those electric fireplaces in the camper too. That does warm up that main room, not the 2 bedrooms, but the main room. And we haven't ran it that much, just in the morning times a little bit. So I cut that on. The top is the main heater is not coming on at all. So I'm like, what in the world's going on? So I cut it on. I don't hear no clicking. I don't hear anything. And I'll look down, and I can see where the heater is. Well, first I check the fuses and the breaker. All that's good. And I'm like, the heater's not working. The heater is not coming on. Something is wrong with the heater in the camper. I switched it over to gas, thinking, well, maybe we'll just do it that way. Nothing. The gas don't work. The electric heat don't work. So I'm like, and I sent you a text.
Well,
I said,
you had went outside, and while you were outside, you sent me a text, and you said the heater's not working. I don't know what we're going to do because we don't have the ability to haul this camper anywhere to have it worked on.
So I pulled the panels off, looked at the heater, pulled the metal panel off the heater, looked to make sure there wasn't any loose wires anywhere. I was just looking around.
In the meantime, I said, call Greg.
Call Greg.
Greg is our solution to everything now.
Greg is the gentleman that did our site work. And so she was like, call Greg. And so I just started thinking about it. And I thought to myself, well, I'll tell y'all what happened. Well, I cut the electric heat on, and we got 2 zones. We got one zone that's in the front of the camper, and we got and that's zone 2. I don't know why they're like that, because to me they're backwards. But zone 2 is the first unit, zone 1 is the second unit, and zone 1's kind of the main one. So I guess that's why they call it zone 1. But zone 2, heat was coming out of it a little more out of that top unit than the main one was. So then I told you I need the owner's manuals. I need to make sure I'm doing something right. So I get the manuals that came with the camper, and it's just a stack of books like this. But there was no operating manual or any instructions or anything in this camper, a slew of books on how to work any type of air conditioning or heating system whatsoever. So, but it did give you like a parts breakdown book. So I see the heating unit, and I kind of look at it, and then I see one that shows the element. And so it's 2 separate books. And so the heating element one was for the electric heat, and it's in the top. The one down low that comes out of vents is strictly gas. So we, the whole time, have been running the gas heat along with the electric heat up top. And come to find out, so I Googled this heating element that came up, And all it's for is to help take the chill out of the room. It's really not supposed to get hot and heat the camper up. So you rely strictly on the gas heat in the camper, and a light bulb went off, and I knew immediately what was wrong. Number one, I didn't know what in the world I was doing and thought I was doing right by running the electric heat. Number two, we were out of propane. That's exactly what it was.
All this talk is making me cold. I'm going to put my jacket on. But we were out of propane.
We were out of propane. So I went outside and I felt the tanks, and I was like, this is it. Here is the funny thing. When we went to the meetup, a young man came up to me after we spoke and said that they have been living in a camper him and his wife been living in a camper for like 3 years. And he said, I'm going to give you a little bit of advice. And he gave me some tips. And one of them was, so you don't run out of propane, buy these little sensors that are magnets that stick to the bottom of your propane tank, and they're Bluetooth compatible, and they send a signal to your phone, and you can always check your propane levels. And I said, man, that is awesome, but we got electric heat, so we're not even using our gas. And the look on his face was like, what? And he said, you got electric heat? And I said, yeah, on my thermostat, it says gas heat, and I can switch it over to electric heat. And he said, well, we didn't have that in ours, so that's pretty good. And I said, yeah, so I don't have to worry about it. But I told myself, I don't want to run out of propane while we're cooking or something. So I bought the sensors, and I was going to wait till he ran out to put the sensors on. And lo and behold, it ran out, and it was because of our heating situation. It had nothing to do with us cooking, really, because we haven't cooked that much on the propane. So I was able to put the sensors on there. So now we know how to work the heat. We know how to work the toilet. And I got these sensors on there that will alert me when it starts getting low.
So I took the tanks and had the tanks filled. We have 2 new full tanks. And the thing is when we bought the camper, the people had used it. So they didn't know how much gas was in it because,
had no clue.
There's no way to know. Well, I used the stove 3 times, so there's this much propane. All we knew is that the tanks probably weren't exactly full, but we didn't know how much we had left, nor did we think that they would, we needed to fill them at that time. So we had talked about having them filled. We had talked about it, and I told you I did not want to wait until it was to where everybody was lined up because everybody uses propane as trying to fill their tanks up when it's cold.
Right.
And so I wanted to go ahead and get the tanks filled up before we needed to because they're only charging you for the amount that goes in it. They're not charging you a set fee.
Right.
So, hindsight tells me I should have had the tanks filled before then, but we just were running crazy and
we're camper dumb.
So we had not. I didn't have the ability. I didn't think to go and disconnect the propane tanks. That was something I needed Jason to do. So we had talked about it, but we had not disconnected the propane tanks. Had we done that, we never would have had the heat issue. But
you know what would have happened?
What?
We would continue to use that electric heat and gas heat thing at the same time, and I never would have learned that we would have been using gas heat the entire time. So I'm glad it did happen. Because now I know how the system works. And I'm not even using the electric heat thing anymore.
Well, I'm just glad I had bought a blanket for the bed because I thought about it and I was like, it's not going to get cold enough for me to buy a blanket for the bed.
Right.
And it's a different size than what we had at the old house. So I didn't have a blanket, but I went ahead and bought a blanket and had it at the foot of the bed. And lo and behold, I pulled that blanket up and I got back under my covers and I said, it is cold in here.
It was cold. It really was.
But the next night we didn't have any issues and all is back. I'm glad we do have it fixed before the freezing temperatures.
Yes. And you know what? I think it is actually working better doing just strictly the gas and the combo.
I'm sure that it's probably heating faster.
I think so. But I'm glad we figured that out, and so I'm glad it's all going well now, and I'm sure there's going to be some more things that are going to pop up.
No. We're done.
That we don't have
We're done.
in a camper.
We're done. We know everything there is to know about a camper. And I was thinking the other day, our plan is we're going to sell this camper as soon as we're finished with it.
Yeah.
We need to recoup our costs that we have in it. And the people are going to come and we're going to be showing them the features. And we really don't know any of the features. And we won't know any more then, I'm sure, than we do now.
I think so. I think we've got.
Well, you'll have to handle that because I really I don't know how to work the awning. I don't know how to work the lights. I don't know how to,
You have gotten better with the lights.
Only because I mash all the buttons until the one that comes on that I need.
But the control panel is clearly labeled, so.
It is, but
it is.
Last night you were out here working on a video. Marycarl and I were in the camper.
Right.
And it was, we put the dogs up so you wouldn't have to do it.
Uh-huh.
And I said, he's not going to want to come in the dark. So I cut what said, what did it say? Entry light off. Well, the whole camper went dark. I was like, well, that's not going to help.
You was thinking it was outside.
Yeah,
Which,
I was.
Entry light does sound like outside.
So I guess trial and error. It's not like it's going to blow up if I hit the wrong switch. So I'm thankful for that part. I haven't said, that being said, not one time.
Oh, that was funny. And I didn't know you said that a lot, but we got a message last night that I got so tickled about. And somebody said that they were going to start a new drinking game that every time Brooke said, that being said, you have to take a drink.
I'm not going to say it anymore. You know how you say things, but you never know you say them.
You never know you say it. Yes, I know exactly what you mean.
Other people recognize it.
Yes.
That's one of those things. That's, that being said, I'm just kidding.
And I've quit fooling with the mic. That was the other thing that I would get.
And somebody else said that I was inching closer and closer.
Closer to me.
And closer.
That's because you love me.
Well, I love you, but that doesn't have anything to do with the reason I was inching closer. I was probably cold, if truth be known. I have a tendency to. You know what we didn't tell people the other day?
What's that?
That the video came out about us rehoming our turkey, and it's out on both platforms now. By the time this goes
that
out,
would be correct.
It'll be out
That'd
on
be
both
correct.
platforms.
Yes.
So we rehomed Bluey the turkey because he was not going to make it if we kept him here.
Right.
He and Thomas had gotten to where they didn't get along, so we moved him down with the boy goats, and that was fine, except for he roosted on the fence that separated Nugget and the goats.
And I had clipped his wings.
Yeah, and so during the night, turkeys are not the sharpest tool in the shed.
They're really not.
And I had other people tell me this, too, that turkeys have a tendency to fall off their roost at night.
Yes.
I don't know if they sleep so sound that they fall off or what.
So. I wish I could sleep that good.
I wish I could, too, but I don't want to fall off the bed.
I don't want to fall off the bed either.
So there were several occasions where when we woke up to go feed, Bluey would be in with Nugget.
Yes.
And the ducks.
Yes.
And he'd be over in a corner, crouched down,
Correct.
And we didn't really know what was going on except for that Nugget was getting the best of him.
Yes.
Why was he in there? Finally, we put two and two together and realized that he
That's
was
what had happened,
obviously falling off his bed at night.
And Nugget did not like him. And, Nugget's he's in there with the geese and ducks. No issues there. There's chickens and roosters that go in there. No issues there. But for whatever reason, he did not like Bluey. And so, he
Well, we told y'all at the old farm, anytime we made a new addition, Nugget had to approve.
Yeah, we'd have to be careful.
We would have to put it, in an area where he could see it for a while and make it feel like it was part of his clan before it was turned loose. And Bluey, it was an accident that he got in there. He wasn't intentionally, I don't think, leaving the goats to go to.
Exactly.
So anyway.
And he did it twice.
I don't know if you even said this part in the video, but the gentleman was going to come in. Well, okay, so it was a girl that had
I talked about all that.
A female turkey, and she was going to send her daddy to come get him the next day. Mm-hmm. And the daddy called me that morning, and he said, look, I was fixing to come your way, but I can't get this cage in my car. And he said, look, we want the turkey, and I'll do everything I can to make it, to get there, to get him, but it's not going to be today because I can't get the cage in my car.
Right.
So we had already planned on going to look at appliances for our new house that day in Montgomery. And so I was like, well, how far are you from Montgomery? he was like, "Oh," so he gave me his address, and I Googled it to find out it was about 45 minutes out of the way. But we were going to Montgomery, so we wanted Bluey to live his life and not wake up to a tragedy from Bluey being killed by a nugget.
Right.
So I said, look, we got to go to Montgomery. We will load Bluey up and we'll bring him to you because your cage won't fit in your car and we want him to go to a good home. And we knew this was it. This was the right home for him.
Yeah, because you have talked to her and then about how she already had a pet turkey and the pet turkey was, staying in her house a lot and coming into her house.
It was alone. It was a female and it was all alone.
And they originally thought it was a boy.
Yeah, his name was Tom.
Mm-hmm.
And he was over a year old. He had not done his cock-a-doodle-doo thing.
Didn't have a beard.
He didn't have a beard, so we knew it was a female. And so that being said, we took Bluey to his new home, and we saw firsthand the female. We saw how happy Bluey was. But
yes,
my point is I have been very worried about our appliance situation.
Oh, okay. Yeah. You've been very worried about
That's what I was
getting
to. I was getting to the fact that we took Bluey and then we went on and picked out appliances.
Main reason is being supply. I mean,
oh my gosh,
everything is crazy right now. And so, normally, you could just go to a store and pick out your appliances and, no big deal. And this could have been something we could have, in normal circumstances, do after the house is built and everything's done.
Right.
But stuff is so far out. And so you have to plan way ahead. And so, appliances have been really, really weighing on you big time because, windows and doors. We ordered windows and doors months ago.
Yep.
And here they are in storage. We had to rent a storage building for them. And it sounds crazy, but now we look like geniuses for ordering the windows and doors because they're even further out now than they were when we ordered them. They were 6 to 8 weeks out when we ordered them. Now we're being told they're 14 to 20 weeks out. So if we ordered windows and doors today, we're talking 14 to 20 weeks before we get windows and doors.
And they have to be in order for them to construct the exterior of the house.
Because they got to trim it out for us and all that. So, yeah. Yeah.
So I follow a lot of pages on various sites about building and barn dominium being specific because that's what we're building.
Right.
And everywhere I have read is just appliance disaster. Some people have been waiting more than a year.
Yes.
Well, I didn't want anything fancy. I just needed to have appliances.
Right.
When we get moved in, I need to be able to cook, and we want to be out of our camper and into our house without there being any barriers to keep us from doing so. So I told you, I said, let's go look at them, and let's just, even if we don't buy, we've got to start somewhere.
Right.
And we had on our plans a range that included, I call it a 1.5 oven.
It was a range with 1.5 ovens in it. And
so it was a full oven with a smaller oven off to the side.
Right. That was our original plans. And the one we had looked at was kind of an off-brand. And then we started reading more and more about it. And the reviews were kind of mixed on it. And then if you went to a name brand on one of these.
That's where the year out came in.
Plus
and I didn't want to pay for it.
Yeah, it was crazy. And we really did not want to spend that much money on.
We're trying to stay on we had an appliance budget and we sure didn't want to exceed it before we even started building.
Our appliance budget would have all been thrown out the door for that one appliance because that's how much they were. And then we were like, this ain't
and it was
work.
a range.
Yeah.
So my goal was to come off on budget and have 1.5 ovens. That being said, we couldn't do it with a range.
Yes.
We couldn't do it. And the reason that the one that I initially planned on buying, we didn't go with was because I started reading that it was unable to be serviced.
Yeah, that was the other thing is that, if this thing breaks down, you're in trouble.
You couldn't find parts for it. You couldn't get anybody to service it because it wasn't a nationally known brand. So we knew at that point we had to do something different. So we went appliance shopping after we dropped Bluey off, and we ended up buying appliances.
Yes, we
for
did.
Both houses,
for both
Mom
houses,
and us.
got all that taken care of, and
We almost stayed in our budget. We didn't go over by much.
yes.
But that being said,
that being take a drink.
Yep, take two because I said it twice. That being said, 3 times.
Oh,
Boy, you're feeling good now. We did get what we wanted, but not a range. We went with a 1.5 wall oven instead and a cooktop.
And these things now, man, y'all, it's crazy. The 1.5 oven, the top is the half, of course, and the bottom is a regular size oven. But the top one is a half. It looks like a half of a wall oven. And this thing is a microwave, a convection oven, and an air fryer all in one. And so that so we didn't have to buy a microwave because it's all it's crazy technology nowadays. It just blows your mind.
At the old house, I only had the single oven, but I had a little convection oven sitting on the counter, and I used it literally every day.
3 to 1 to the big oven.
Because, I used the big oven when I was cooking at dinner, but during the day I would use that little convection oven because I didn't need to cook a meal.
Right.
I was just heating things up or cooking toast or doing something like that. And there's our spider.
Spider's back.
So that was my knowing that I had to have an additional oven. And I didn't want that convection oven sitting on the countertop if I didn't have to.
Right.
I'm so relieved. But I got a new worry.
What's your new worry?
Cabinets.
Oh, yeah. Cabinets are the next worry. But we'll figure that out.
Yeah. We'll figure it out.
And cabinets are the same way. If you go with one of these, pre-made box stores that you see when you go into a Home Depot or Lowe's, you see those cabinets.
Not only that, all building supplies have a brand that they carry.
Right. And these things are on major back order too.
24 weeks is what we were told the last time we asked.
24 weeks on cabinets.
And I always had in my mind that using a cabinet maker would be astronomical in price.
Right.
So I literally did a Google search to find out that if you don't need all the bells and whistles, all the extras that you can get with some of these custom cabinets, then you will probably come out less expensive than you would if you bought a prefab cabinet.
Yeah, from a custom cabinet maker.
Custom cabinet maker.
So that's next on the agenda to start trying to figure out that for sure.
I've talked to 2 in the local area that our friend Brian at Crossroads Building has suggested that we talk to. He does not have any experience with any of them, so he was just kind of giving me a contact.
Right.
And we'll go from there. But that'll give us a good starting point to know, how it is cost-wise versus your prefab cabinets.
Yeah, from the
I mean, we're not going to go with the cheapest thing we can find, but we also we're not going to blow our budget.
Right.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
I feel like we don't want anything special. I mean,
we've looked and we don't want anything
what we
elaborate.
want is just basic. Yeah. I mean, just Brian said if you want a shaker style cabinet.
And that's what I want, shaker style.
Then you're probably going to come out less expensive than you would if you bought a manufactured cabinet. Yep. That's what you call it. Manufactured cabinet.
Yep.
So hopefully we can get this in the works soon. I don't want cabinets built sitting in a cabinet shop. That's for sure. Waiting to be put in. But I'm feeling fairly confident we're going to be getting started fairly soon.
I hope so. I keep thinking maybe 3 to 4 weeks, and we may see a slab and poles being set. That's what I'm thinking. 3 to 4 weeks. I may be wrong. It may be 6 to 8 weeks, but it's just the feel I got right now.
I just I'm not going to be in a hurry about it, but I am ready to get started. I just, I know we've been here 5 weeks, and we were hoping to have something started before now, but that's just the nature of the beast. That's how the world rolls right now.
Yes, it is how it rolls.
And I don't know that it's going to change anytime in our near future anyway.
Yeah, I think it's going to be crazy for a little bit.
It's going to take a while for things to catch back up to get to where they once were, hopefully. You got any questions?
Yes, I have printed off several questions today. I was going to get into this because we love answering you guys' questions. And we'll start off with the first one here is why don't I throw out the feed to the alarm system like I used to? And I do throw a scoop out. I don't know. I guess I haven't videoed me throwing a scoop out there. They got that big bowl there now that they all eat out of, and Nugget and everybody. And Nugget has his own little feeder as well. But the main reason is at the other farm, I had to throw out feed because they were so loud and I couldn't video. You couldn't hear me. You couldn't hear us because they were just so loud. Here, they are not that loud at all. They're
what I think it
so
is?
content where they are now versus the other place. And I guess maybe because of the grass they're
I was
eating.
fixing to say,
Yeah.
they did not have the ability to graze at the other place. We had zoysia grass planted, which is not a pasture type grass.
That's right.
They did not like eating zoysia grass.
They
They didn't eat it,
Yeah.
period.
They would go to the Bermuda. We had Bermuda sod put out too, and they would go to it and, hang around there for a little bit.
But the Bermuda
yeah.
just doesn't get very tall.
Right.
So for them to go from having basically zero grass to a pasture full of grass
Yep.
where they can eat it anytime they want, I think it's just they're not hungry.
Yeah, they are 10 times quieter here than they were.
They're
at the
more
other
content,
place.
that's for
Yeah.
sure.
And so that's one reason you don't see me throw anything out versus, like we used to.
Yep.
All right, and here's two questions we get that we've been getting here recently, and they both contradict each other because you got one set of fans that ask us this, then you got another set that ask us this, and one is, are we worried about hawks? And the other one is, why don't we let all our chickens out? So, are we worried about hawks? Yes and no. We haven't had an issue yet here. We know they're here, but generally, this is from our experience. In the past, at the other place, we would possibly have a hawk issue once or twice, maybe 3 times a year, and it was usually during the fall months, which is where we're at now, and that would be it.
Yes, it's almost like their food was becoming in short supply, and so they would start to seek food in places that they weren't used to, and we would have a hawk problem. But if that happened, we would lock our chickens up,
Yep.
and the hawk would no longer see them as being their prey and go on to another area.
Yeah, it was, it's one of those things that we have 2 choices, and that either lock the chickens up and don't let them run around the pasture
Ever.
or let them run around the pasture and take the chance of Mother Nature being Mother Nature and something happening 2 to 3 times a season. So that's it. And
I would rather see them living their life as
Right.
chickens and pecking bugs and being outside and taking that risk that's very minimal.
But I will say this though, here.
You should have said that being said.
That being said, here with that chicken coop setup we got now, they have a shelter they can go under and stay protected because usually, and they have this so wide open here.
Yeah.
At our other place,
Their vision was limited.
Well, the vision was limited, and that hawk could just set up in a tree
and
then
swoop down.
And get them. Here, they don't have that option. They would have to fly overhead, and the chickens are pretty darn swift at catching a hawk in the air, and then they're gone. And
Well,
then
not
they're
catching
hide-
them, but their
Well, yeah,
vision.
Their vision catching them. Yep. And they'll sound the alarm. Usually a rooster will do it more than anybody, but somebody will sound the alarm because chickens have their own dialect and their own language. And once that alarm sounded, they're gone. And you can see them running undercover. And it's always been a buzzard here so far, or a crane, or a goose.
I
or
tell you what
something
happened
flying
the
over.
other day. I was out there and I was painting the coop, and all the chickens, put off their alarm and they started taking off running. And I was like, "What is it?" Because I'm looking around trying to see. It was an airplane.
Was it an airplane?
It was an airplane. So anything that's aerial, they see as a threat to them,
Right.
and they don't know how to distinguish between an airplane and a hawk, but they know that it's a threat or potential
Right.
threat, even
Potential
though it's not
threat.
a threat. But
That's right.
they take cover, and chickens are very smart and very, very aware of their surroundings.
They are. They're a lot smarter than we give them credit for. That's for sure. Now, as for why we don't let all the chickens out, Marycarl, who is, and this is her hobby. This is not mine and hers. This is all Marycarl. And Marycarl has a certain set of breeds that are generally bantams who are miniature chickens that are tiny, that she has separate in the new coop we got, and they will be breed specific. And so she don't want them crossbreeding for one, and she doesn't want them to go outside and potentially get hurt or something by a bigger chicken. But that being said, I'm building a run when I get a chance where they can go outside and be protected, and so they can stay.
It'll have a cover on it.
It'll have a cover on it, and they can stay breed specific and all that good stuff. So that's the reason why those are in a coop versus free ranging like the others. Plus, these little chickens, they're not big egg layers, and if they were, you would have to eat like 5 eggs to equal 1 egg. So it's just a hobby. The little small bantams are Marycarl's babies, and it's a hobby for her versus something that gives us eggs that we can eat.
That's right.
So that's it right there. I'm curious about. Oh, they're talking about the Saramas.
I saw just message after message about show us how these Saramas dance. Y'all are talking about them dancing. How do they dance? Do they dance like Jason? How do they dance?
So I will, gosh, I don't have a clip of them dancing.
You're just going to have to Google Saramas.
Yeah, go to YouTube and type in tabletop Sarama dancing or Sarama chickens dancing, and you will see it. And,
you might want to leave out that tabletop dancing.
You never know what may come up. That's right.
You might not want to do that.
But this is what they do. They poke their chest out further than their beak, and they're just like this, and they do this little
back and forth. They're just showing out, basically.
And their tail straight up, and it's next time we go to a show, I will definitely video that and get it and put it on.
I hate we didn't do it because I didn't realize how many people were unaware of Sarama dancing.
Well, we decided that we weren't going to video
on the
show, but we should have. We should have done that. Should have done that.
I bet somebody can send us a video.
This was a person that was a Afghan hound. Did I say that right?
Yeah, I don't know.
Anyways, they were a big Afghan hound dog breeder, and they showed their dogs. And she was wondering, she said that, crossbreeding a dog is a no-no, and the shows are chickens the same way, and absolutely. You're not going to show a crossbred chicken in a show. They would frown upon it, and it would lose because these judges are professionals.
And I saw some people that were asking, how do we keep our chickens from crossbreeding? Talking about her modern games and her Saramas being together.
Yeah.
Well, we're not letting anything hatch eggs right now, nor are we incubating.
Yes.
So they're not chickens. I don't mean to sound like people that are listening are uneducated, but chickens don't give birth to live animals, so you have the ability to prevent them from hatching young.
That's right.
By collecting the eggs, that's what we do.
That's what we do.
So nobody sits on eggs that are going to be crossbred.
And if you want to know what a chicken show world and life is like, there is a movie on Amazon that is a documentary that is wonderful, and it's called Chicken People. And it documents 3 or 4 people that are big-time chicken show people, and it shows you their life and what they do, and it's very interesting.
How in-depth it can be.
Yeah, so it's pretty cool. If you haven't seen that, go to Amazon. It's called Chicken People. It's pretty awesome.
I wonder if it's available on other platforms.
I don't know, but I know Amazon. It's on Amazon for sure. I thought we answered this, but I guess we didn't. But what is a meeting 3? We have some people said in both podcasts that we never said what a meeting 3 was.
We did, but I remember we did.
I thought we did.
Yeah, we said, remember talking about fried chicken?
But for some reason, it was still getting popped up all over the place.
They didn't watch the podcast and so therefore it's still going to continue. What is a meeting 3?
Well, a meeting 3 is typically is a locally owned restaurant, small town restaurant or cafe that serves a meat and 3 vegetables, and we call them meat and 3s. That's what we're going to.
It actually says on the menu, meat and 3.
Yeah.
And you have a choice of meat, which may be like just say fried chicken, meatloaf, or chicken and dumplings. And then you got a list of vegetables that you can choose from, usually 10 at least. Purple peas, field peas, speckled butter beans, broccoli casserole,
lima
mashed
beans,
potatoes. The
corn.
list goes on.
Yep.
It's just what Southerners refer to as your typical lunch.
That's right. And it's generally lunch is when you eat a meat and three.
All right. So what became of the old Ford truck?
It is still owned. If you don't know, I had purchased a old Ford pickup truck that I'm going to use as a farm truck and use it for, kind of to become marketing for the farm as well. It is, I bought it from a young man, and he is 16, and he is an awesome technician and mechanic. And, I just told him we were moving, had a lot going on. Don't rush because it needs some work, and I'm paying him to fix it for me. And so I just told him to take his time. So we've been talking back and forth, and I don't know exactly when it'll be finished, but he was waiting for it to cool off some too because we had such a hot summer, and he's working outside. So the Ford truck's still on, and hopefully sometime in 2022 it will be over here at Cog Hill.
I skipped that one.
Okay. Oh, do you ever? Are we going to have guests on this show? Have we thought about that? Yes, we are kind of working on that somewhat. I don't know how to do it virtually. I really don't. To make it where it would be a good quality. So I'm working on that. We do have, a couple of guests that have reached out to us that we thought would be interesting to you guys. And so hopefully it's maybe sometime in December we'll have some guests on the show. But it wouldn't be like every show, but maybe once a month, maybe have a special guest or something.
Have you thought of attaching some of the license plates to your fencing using zip ties?
Yes, you had mentioned this to me, and I don't know if you read that comment or...
I read the comment, and I started thinking about it. I was like, you know what? We didn't address this in the last podcast thoroughly, but we did say that we can't screw holes all in the chicken coops because of potential water issues.
Right.
We'd have a million holes in the coops if we start screwing license plates onto it because it's metal.
Right.
So nobody wanted the license plates on the inside of the house. I get that. I understand that. We're not doing it.
We're not doing it.
They'll be outside so all of our viewers can see them.
Correct.
Which, now that I think about it, that's where they should be. Maybe some of our extra special ones will go inside the house, like the custom-made Cog Hill 40 and stuff like that.
This one up here.
But the people that sent their license plate from their state, we want to try it and see what it looks like. I'm going to pick up some zip ties. We've got zip ties, but we can't find them. And I've got the license plates. I know where they are. I actually went and put my hands on them the other day because I was going to grab the totes of them and bring them out, but I couldn't find any zip ties.
Okay.
So we're going to give it a shot and see what it looks like when we zip tie them across the fence and see if it...
And at first my thinking was like just starting going across. And I thought, what if we just randomly...
Yeah, that would be cool. I think that would be cool. Random, I think, would look better than a line, and I hadn't even thought of that.
I thought about that last night, actually. Just do them randomly.
I mean, it might eventually cover the whole fence.
Who knows? And... we could just do it and see what it looks like. We could randomly do it.
Because we can cut it off, and if we don't like it.
We don't like it. And then we can see what you guys think and say, that doesn't look that bad.
That's right. Or that adds character to your blank fence.
That's right.
Because right now, we don't like the way it looks out there with just a blank fence with nothing on it. But
that's correct.
We're getting there.
We're getting there. My paranormal loving self has to know, did y'all or anyone in the family, because this is going back finding out that I worked at the funeral home and your dad worked at the funeral home.
Oh, yeah.
Had ever experienced anything spooky or ghostly on the property or when we're working at the funeral home, and I could do a whole podcast on it, maybe I will, about some of my experiences there, but nothing paranormal. Never anything paranormal whatsoever. And I remember asking your dad about things before in the past, and he'd worked there for 30 years, it seems.
Yeah, it was 30 years. Yeah. It was 30 years.
And he never saw anything. So, no, on that aspect. And, we also had the cemetery right behind our house, and we never saw anything paranormal around the house or anything like that either. So, no, I don't, nothing that I know of.
But I sure wasn't looking for it.
But I got some funny stories that I could tell about me working at the, about my imagination more so than anything spooky. It was me that. So I will do that in the next podcast or podcast coming up.
I am not computer literate.
And that's why I put both these out here.
I don't know what this means.
What does the 4K box by the views mean? They're talking about on YouTube. There's a little spot down there that says 4K. And all this is the quality of the video. And since I got good internet here and I got a new laptop, I'm able to record and upload our videos in 4K, which is right now the best that I can do. But your internet speed, it determines how you see this video. So if you got super fast internet, it automatically default to you watching it in 4K. Then it goes to 1080.
And your TV, or if you're watching it on
whatever.
TV.
Yeah. So then it goes to 1080, and then it goes to 720, and then it goes. And so it's just the quality.
Does sound have ratings like that, or is it just?
I don't
a
think
visual?
so. I think it's just the visual.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's what that is. And then there was another one is closed captioning. We have no control over closed captioning. I click. Matter of fact, it's automatically defaulted. I don't have to click anything. I have my videos on YouTube set up and Facebook to automatically do closed captioning. If it's not on the videos, it's not our fault. It is YouTube or Facebook. Either it's taken them a long time to understand what we're saying, which I can understand because we're country as a jaybird, or it just takes a long time for it to work. I don't know, but we do have that checked. It's nothing to do with us at Cog Hill. It has something to do with either YouTube or Facebook where these things are being put out.
Jason, can you make Brooke a temporary water station so she can stand up?
They're talking about you out there watering.
I know. Listen. As soon as this podcast is over, what was that?
I don't know.
Soon as this podcast is over, I'm getting in the white Cog Hill truck, and I am going to rent a trencher.
Yes.
To put in water lines.
That's our next big project. So, yeah, it's just taking us a little time, but we're working on it.
So when we get that, get the water lines ran to where they need to go, I think that will happen. But running water lines is nothing temporary.
No, this is going to be a full.
Well, I'm just saying they want to know if you can put me a temporary.
Oh, no, yeah.
You can't run a temporary water line.
That's right.
I guess you could with a water hose, but we're running a water hose 600 feet right now.
We got like 4 or 5 water hoses connected.
But we
have to walk 600 feet to cut it on and 600 feet to cut it off.
I feel like I've done my exercise for the day when I go cut the water on and off. So we're about to change that, and hopefully he can get me a permanent water station set up.
That's correct.
But it's not going to happen overnight.
Have we thought about doing solar for the house? You know what? I have, but let me tell you guys, Alabama is not a solar-friendly state. We would not get a return on investment, or if we did, it would take us 30 or 40 years. Alabama just is not a solar-friendly state. We could buy this solar equipment, but for it to come back and pay for itself would take years and years and years and years. Now, I know there's a lot of states out there that are solar friendly.
What does that mean? Our power is cheaper?
You got that, and the ability of typically when you do a solar house, you get more energy than you need, and you provide it back to the grid, and then they pay you back for that power.
So Alabama doesn't care about that.
They don't. They really. Alabama's just or at least not in our area. I don't know if the whole state's like that, but from what I've researched, the state is. Alabama's just not solar friendly. It's just not a solar friendly state. But there are states out there that are solar friendly, and you probably would get a return on your investment.
I don't know about that one.
Oh, I got it. Got a lot of cover crop questions.
Oh, cover crops. Seeds.
I got a lot of cover crop questions, and somebody was wanting to know, why did I mix the seeds and on the cover crops and just throw them out like I did? Why didn't I plant them in rows or whatever?
I gotcha.
And you could have, but generally with cover crops, what I found is I wanted to cover the whole area because I want it all. I don't want any erosion. I don't want any weeds. And they won't drown each other out. They'll usually work in connection with each other. So
it's different types of seeds, so they are going to come up a little spaced out, although it's not evenly spaced.
And they're all various sizes. And what I did, they do various different things. So I didn't plant something that gets really tall and it would shade out the rest of the stuff. So, no, I'm not worried about that, and that's why I do, especially fall cover crops. I do them like that more so than I do summer cover crops because you're kind of a little bit less limited to summer cover crops, and generally the summer cover crops do get tall and would shade out the smaller cover crops. How are we going to water that huge garden? We're fixing to run some water lines for sure, and I'm going to use drip irrigation, and that will be such a lifesaver when it comes to watering that big garden for sure.
Somebody, a lot of people told us, y'all need to build a catch pen for the goats. So when you go in the flower garden, you can eliminate them having to go after the tractor and us having to contain them to keep them from getting out, whatnot. We haven't built a catch pen for the goats because we are putting in another gate.
Yeah, we're going to put in another gate. And I mentioned it in a video that was going to be first on our list, that I'm putting another gate in. But I think people, that was kind of near the end of the video, I think. And I think people were commenting while they were watching.
Yeah.
And they saw that we're having issues with us going through the goat pen to get to the flower garden. And that was not set up that way on purpose by all means. We had put that garden area in way before we did the animal pastures, and then we got in a situation where we were trying to figure out where we're going to put our animals because the move kept getting sped up and fast forwarded, and we had to do something, and I thought this was the best spot for them. And it was closer to the resources, it was closer to water, we wouldn't have to do all this crazy stuff. And so we used that garden fence to save us having to pull another fence, and it just worked out perfectly except the gates in there. So we are going to put another gate in, and we're going to do that pretty darn soon. That would probably be next on our list after we get this water line situation taken care of.
The water line will be situated first, and then we will definitely put a gate in. I've actually already looked at them. I know what we want, but I wasn't in the truck at the time, or I would have bought it. I would have bought it then.
Do I feed our cover crops to our goats and birds when it comes up? No. What I'll do with my cover crop is I'll let it be. Then either I'll do one or two things. In the summertime, I like to chop and drop it. And when I chop and drop it, it drops down, and then it'll compost back into the soil and make my soil better. And that's one reason that you like to grow cover crops, is to build your soil up. In the wintertime, a lot of times what I'll do is I won't chop and drop it, or I will. I may chop and drop it. It all depends on how it works out. If it gets too tall, then I'll chop it and it'll drop down and compost back in, and then I'll come back and I'll tarp it. And then when I tarp it, the whole cover crop will die and decompose and go back into the soil and turn into green manure or compost and compost back into the soil.
When you plant a cover crop, do you have to water it?
Typically, you don't have to water your cover crops. Your winter and fall cover crops, you generally don't have to because that's normally your wet season anyways. Your summer cover crops, you would have to water, like Sudan grass or sun hemp. It could be dry, and of course, it's middle of the summer. Kind of just depends on
your water conditions.
Yeah, that too. And it depends on where you live and all that kind of stuff. But in the winter and the fall, we usually don't water our cover crops, period.
So this question has been asked a lot, and I apologize for not having answered it.
And you know what? I assumed we had answered this.
I don't think we did.
Maybe we did.
And this question is, did the lady find her little dog Moo? Yes.
Yes.
She did find the dog. She found it. How long? It was 7 days later?
I think so. And, I think I saw Moo twice when I was here. And one time, I remember seeing him, and it was right after it all happened. And, I took like 2 steps, and he was a good long ways away, and then he was gone. So, yeah, Moo was...
It was a little poodle.
It was a little poodle.
The lady didn't live here. She had went on vacation and left the dog with a friend that lives actually down the road. And the friend was putting groceries in the house, and the dog shot out. And so Moo was missing, and it was in this area. And the dog had been spotted on our property several times.
Yes.
So we were aptly looking for the dog as well as they were.
Yeah, we were allowing them to come over, and they would come over every evening.
Every evening after work, she would come look.
Then it had got to a point where there's like 3 days that they hadn't seen Moo.
Yeah,
up to that point, someone had seen Moo every day, but there was like a 3-day period where they didn't see him. And she had told me that she had started getting, a little worried now.
She was starting to feel like.
And we were leaving dog food and water out for him. This was
before we were living.
I was staying here by myself
because
working
Arlo
on
was here with
videos at
you.
night. Yep, and this was like the week of us
Moving.
before us moving here or of us getting here. And so
what happened was eventually the dog was spotted where it went missing from, which was the lady's house, the friend.
that's right.
And was coming up on the porch eating food. But as soon as they opened the door, the dog would take off because that wasn't his house. That was just where he was staying.
Right.
So they eventually went and bought a trap, and they put food in the trap, and they trapped their own dog.
Mm-hmm. Bought like one of those live trap, or did borrowed one, I think. Maybe I can't remember, but it was one of those live traps, the big ones that when the animal walks in, the door
shuts behind them.
Yeah.
And they knew that Moo was hungry because he had been missing
Right.
for 7 days. It was a she, wasn't it?
It was a she.
Had been missing for 7 days. So putting the food in the trap, they caught the dog, and the dog is back home.
Yes, and she sent us pictures of Moo, and everything was.
I actually got to go over and see Moo firsthand.
Did you?
Yeah, you don't remember?
I don't remember that.
She called me the day that they found it and said, we're only going to be here for about 30 more minutes. And I said, well, I'm on my way there. And Marycarl and I stopped over at the friend's house right down the road and saw Moo firsthand.
Oh, wow.
So
That was awesome.
yeah, that was a good ending to that story.
That was a good ending to the story, yes.
Because I tell you, I wouldn't be feeling good if my dog had been missing for 7 days and
3 days in a row, no one had seen it anymore.
And not at their house.
Not
that was
at their
the
house.
big thing.
They lived like an hour and so away from here.
Yeah, if our dogs went missing, we would feel like it would know where to come back home.
Right.
But that wasn't that dog's home, so
That's
how was
right.
it going to know where to go back to?
So that good for Moo.
I am fixing to get in the truck and head to get the trencher.
Good for Brooke.
Good for Brooke, but you better have this pipe all laid out and be ready for when I get back. Because I'm going to have my I'm a Survivor Sanctuary shirt on this weekend, laying that pipe in the cold.
Oh, my gracious. It's going to be a fun-filled weekend.
It is. We didn't know the temperatures were going to get as low as what they are when we rented the trencher, but hey, it's got to be done.
It's got to be done. And I would like to say, too, this was the first week of me putting out 3 videos this week. We actually put out 6 total videos this week, counting the podcast.
Yep.
So
Well, last
I hope
night
you guys enjoyed it.
We had our question if a Friday video was going out last night because it was getting later in the day and we had friends come over
Yes.
from Head Family Farm and visit with them yesterday. So we were kind of questioning if the video would get edited, but it did, and
It
you
did get
stuck to
edited.
your schedule.
I did stick to the schedule, so I did get 3 videos out. We got 2 podcasts out, and we got Cogmas out.
We're doing better.
We
with
are
our,
doing better, and I hope you guys are enjoying it.
Yep. So until next time.
Y'all be good.